So I'm just going to talk quickly about creating a graphical user interface in Netbeans or some things to consider if you're going to use something other than Java and then Netbeans IDE when you're um, creating graphical user interfaces for your projects. So just a quick reminder, your projects will require you to develop and test a graphical user interface. Um, and we're talking about Netbeans because as a introduction because it is a quick way to create a graphical user interface. Basically, it's drag and drop with the different UI components. And one of the benefits is that it can be run on any operating system. So today I'm going to talk you through a couple of points in Netbeans using the Java Swing GUI. And a quick reminder, you're not required to use these things like was said in the class, but just a couple of caveats. If we do provide you with any sample code, it will be in Java. And I can help as the TA debug any projects in Java. And your program must be able to be run on Windows or Mac OS. So if you're going to develop in something other than Java, make sure that your program can run on these two operating systems. So here's just some information about setup really fast. There's a couple of different Netbeans bundles that you can download that include other programming languages than Java. So if you want to try those are here. But if you just want to go ahead and get set up with Java and Netbeans, there's a link here that will install the Java JDK and the Java SE bundle of Netbeans. And that's the latest version of Netbeans. And everyone should be sure to install the JDK whether you're developing in Java or not. This will ensure that you can run other students' programs who have developed in Java. So these are some instructions on creating a new project. It's very similar to any other programs. You just hit File, New Project, select a Java application. You can name it whatever you like and uncheck Create Main Class. Because the main file we're going to be working with is the one we're going to create in this step. So you can right click on your new project and create a J dialog form. This is the file that will let you design your user interface. Once you create that, you should see a dialog form, and it'll have 3 buttons or tabs at the top called Source, Design, and History. Source will show you the source code that's generated for your user interface. Design will show you the area where you can actually drag and drop things, and then History will show you the changes that you've made. And this is just a quick tutorial using the Java Swing Designer. And I highly suggest if you do plan to use Netbeans and Java to go through this because it'll give you a lot of good tips. So switching over to Netbeans, this is what it looks like once you have a J dialog form set up. This is the Design tab, as I said, the Source tab with the code that's been generated here. And just a couple of items of note. Again, this was created using the tutorial. Some things that of interest from the tutorial using panels, which create this sort of outline here. And then there's labels here and here, text fields. All of these are found here on the right, where you can drag and drop items over here. You also have a list of components that you've dragged into your form here. And I highly suggest going in and renaming these to something that's meaningful because that variable name that you change it to here will be used in the source code that's generated as well. Another thing too, if you are in the design view and you double click on an item here, you can go into the source code and it will generate an action perform method so you can write code for when an event happens. Also right here you have some properties related to whatever form you have selected at the time, so you can change some of the colors, add text, especially for labels, and go through and select different options there. So again, just a couple of notes to think about. The tutorial that I've linked to has some really good tips on auto-aligning components and a bunch of other keyboard shortcuts that will probably be really useful to you as you go through designing your user interface. And these are some things that I would consider, even if you're not developing in Java, knowing how to do in whatever programming language that you're going to be developing in. So knowing how to align things correctly, manipulate color, um, adding in components, and working with those, something that probably everyone should think about spending time on this weekend. Um, and again, as I said, try to use descriptive names for your GUI components. These are just some quick instructions on building an executable jar in Netbeans. Um, just go in and right-click on your project and select the packaging. This makes sure that all the necessary files are zipped with your jar. Just basically follow these instructions, and using the zip files, other students should be able to run your program by double-clicking on the jar file.